I've always valued order. In everything. In business, in my daily routine, in my surroundings. I'm 57, and over the years, I've built not just a fortune, but an entire empire, brick by brick, on principles of precision and predictability. My life was a well-oiled machine, every cog precisely in its place. And Victoria, my wife, was one of the most beautiful and brilliant components of that mechanism. We had been together for 20 years. She was 15 years my junior, and I confess, at first her beauty and grace were a kind of trophy for me. I harbored no illusions. She chose me not for my graying temples, but for the opportunities one could offer. And I, in turn, was ready to pay. To pay for an ideal companion, for a flawless image, for a quiet, reliable haven in my frenetic world. It was our unwritten agreement. I would give her a world where she wanted for nothing, and she would provide me with status, order, and loyalty. Over time, it grew into a deep habit, if not an attachment. I provided her with everything one could wish for: a house on Rubliovka, a villa in Tuscany, a personal driver, the best stylists, unlimited opportunities for shopping and travel. In return, I expected loyalty and order. The first alarm bell rang about 6 months ago. Victoria always wore the same perfume, a light, citrusy scent that I associated with her. But one day, I caught a different scent. Barely noticeable, spicy, pungent. It wasn't unpleasant, but it was alien. I put it down to a new cream or hairspray. Then the little things started to change. She started going to her fitness club more often. Before, it was 3 times a week. Now, it was almost daily, and her workouts would drag on. Her eyes, which used to look at me with accustomed warmth, now sometimes shone with a new, unfamiliar fire when I wasn't looking at her, but felt her gaze. She became a little more distracted, yet at the same time, more animated, as if she had discovered something new that she couldn't show me. Or, worse yet, something free that I couldn't buy. My analytical mind, honed over years of calculating risks and studying competitors' behavioral patterns, couldn't help but notice these anomalies. I couldn't afford blind trust. That would be a professional error. I hired a man, not a public detective agency, but someone who worked quietly, without unnecessary fuss or questions. A man I trusted and who knew how to obtain information without leaving a trace. The report arrived 2 weeks later. An email, no superfluous words, with attachments. Photographs. A young man. Her club's yoga instructor. Too young to open. Imperfect, if I may say so, by my standards. Without a Brioni suit. Without a watch on his wrist worth his annual income. But in the photographs, he looked at my Victoria in a way I hadn't looked at her in perhaps 10 years. With pure, almost childlike adoration. And she returned that gaze, the same one I had once seen in her eyes when we first began. In her eyes, when she looked at me, I didn't feel a flash of rage. Rather, a cold, searing emptiness. Had I been so blind? Or so confident in my superiority, in my ability to buy loyalty? It wasn't about him, nor even about her. It was about my perfect order, which had collapsed. About my control, which proved to be an illusion. She was with me for the money. I knew that perfectly well and accepted it. But she failed to consider that I do not tolerate my investments depreciating or my assets being misused. I paid her for loyalty, for status, for a perfect image. And, like a good manager, I always believed the deal was mutually beneficial. Her actions were not merely a betrayal. They were a breach of contract without my knowledge and, worse, without any rational benefit to her. What could he offer her? Nothing but fleeting foolishness. And for that, she risked everything I had given her? What naivete, what inefficiency. I was sitting in my office. Outside the window lay a well-kept garden on which 3 gardeners were working. There was an original painting by Ivazovsky hanging on the wall. There was 10-year-old whiskey on the table. My life was a work of art, and she turned out to be a flaw in the canvas. Victoria was supposed to be back for dinner. She is probably smiling now, remembering their secret meetings. She thinks that everything is safely hidden under the cover of her elegance and my busyness. I took a sip of whiskey. Cold, burning. Well, order will be restored. There will be no hysterics, scandals, division of property. This is not my style. There will be a quiet, methodical withdrawal. Just like I remove an ineffective employee or close an unprofitable project. Her world, built on my resources, will disappear. Slowly but surely. And this will be done so that not a single shadow falls on my name. I don't look at her with hatred. Rather, with regret. I regret that I was mistaken in assessing the reliability of one of the most important elements of my system, and with slight contempt for her naivety and short-sightedness. Maybe I stopped seeing her, but she forgot that I never stopped controlling. And this control is what I am using now, down to the smallest detail.